Being a single mom and doing it all by yourself is brutal. Learn the brain and energy tools to get back to your center and overcome your challenges. Welcome to this episode of Single and Doing It All, the podcast to help single moms really tap into their power and connect with their soul or the universe, God, however you call it, in order to have more impact in creating their life instead of just being a victim of their circumstances. Today, I have a guest who's going to teach us a lot of good ways to change our life through changing our house and what is in it. Her name is Carole J. Hyder, and she's an internationally recognized consultant, speaker, teacher, author, and trainer in the field of Feng Shui. Her Integrative Spaces strategy combines ancient practices with modern research to create a superior environment in the healthcare industry. Carole holds an MA in East Asian Studies and has been a Feng Shui consultant since 1992. Having studied with His Holiness Grandmaster Thomas Lin Yun, Her Holiness Crystal Chu Rinpoche, and Roger Green, all master teachers in their respective philosophies of Feng Shui. Welcome, Carole. How are you?
I'm good, Marielle. How are you?
I'm great. I'm very happy to have you here because I've always been intrigued by Feng Shui, and I even dabbled with it a little bit and got some results. We'll talk about that later.
Oh, I want to hear.
Yes. And before we do that, I would love if you could tell the audience how you ended up choosing Feng Shui as an expertise and deciding to become a master and a teacher.
Well, it kind of chose me. I had actually another business before I started doing Feng Shui. And I was at a conference for my business. And they had somebody speak on Feng Shui. I didn't know what it was. I didn't even know how to say it. And so I went because I don't know, it sounded interesting. And that was obviously a tipping point for me. And back then, almost 30 years ago, there were no books. There was nothing around except Professor Thomas Lin Yun. And he was teaching in Berkeley. And I went up to the woman who spoke and I said, I am smitten by this. So I thought, well, I'll just go out and see what he's about. So I found out when he was doing a weekend thing, and there'd be a small group of us. And meanwhile, I'm, doing my other business. But I'll tell you, I'd come back from one of those weekends, and I would do some of the simplest things that he'd suggest, and boom, it would happen. And I'd go, and it kind of frightened me. Because I thought, I don't know what I'm dealing with here. I mean, this is powerful stuff. Yes. And so my friends were, do this, do that, and, help me with this. Well, what happened, and this is why I say I think Feng Shui found me, is that I'm really, on no planning on my part, somebody came along to buy my business, which was not on my radar. That was my life. But through all the negotiations and everything, became an attractive thing to do. So I did. And now, now what do? All I've done is own my business. And so I have no life. And I figure, well, I'll just do this Feng Shui thing for a little while till I figure out my next piece. Well, here we are, like 27 years later, and I'm still doing it. And I have watched it. What's been really fascinating is I've seen it in its infancy here in the States. And now I really am, my focus, although I still do residential work, but my focus and mission is to get it into healthcare.
Yeah.
Because it's a place that needs it. it can make a difference. It can help people heal. There's been a few scientific studies about that. They haven't called it Feng Shui. They just talked about the environment. And so I know that it can really help. So now I'm, obviously about 5 years into it, I think I need to commit to Feng Shui. And so I've written some books, and I've got a school and a training program. And I've just watched not only my own life, but a lot of everybody's lives, all the people I work with, something happens. Sometimes it's unexpected. Sometimes it's like, oh, I didn't want that to happen. And then realize, wait, that was the best thing that happened. Wow. So it's an exciting ride for me. Every day is like another story, another event, another piece to add to my, arsenal of look what happened here, So it's a very exciting time. And I think people now are much more open to the idea, because when I started, Muriel, I was perceived as bringing some kind of pagan religion to the world. And people would, start to hire me to speak, and then kind of get into it. And no, you can't speak about that. That's not, this is a church group. They won't like this. And we're over that now. I mean, I think we've passed that.
It's really great. The world is really opening to the world of energy, because Feng Shui is the world of energy.
Yes.
And that gives us so much more power on our life.
I know. Yeah.
And
yes, it does.
For the little story and anecdote, my story with Feng Shui, I'm in a group. We're in the same group for business. And I don't remember, there was some kind of interview or presentation about Feng Shui. And they talked about the abundance corner in the house.
Oh, yeah.
And I listened to that. And then I said, okay, I'm going to put something, because they said if you put some gold or something that represents abundance, it's going to attract it to you. So I made a collage, and I put myself in the collage with a magical forest where the leaves of the trees were beels. And I put it there, and it happens to fall exactly where I meditate, the abundance corner. So that was perfect. And when I was meditating, I was under that picture on my wall where things were falling on me. Beels were falling on me. So I started feeling the energy of that. And it took a few days, and a client fell on my lap out of nowhere, referred by someone I didn't even know, who listened to one of my interviews or several of them. And I just got a client. So I was like, oh, wow, that thing is working. Mm-hmm. And I just did one little thing. I didn't even really dig into it to know what to do about different areas of our life.
I think it's the new frontier. People don't realize that your space reflects your life.
Yes.
And that's the platform that Feng Shui operates from. What you have around you can make or break your day and your life. And we put blinders on, like, oh, I don't even see that anymore. Well, it sees you.
Yeah.
And on some level, that energy piece, that energetic level you spoke of is really what's being affected. And now people get it. I mean, they're starting to, they may say things like, oh, when I walked in there, I just felt icky. Well, what's that? Like, what's that? And when it may be the decor, it may be that, something had just happened in there, an argument, or, something negative, and we get it. And we just go, I don't know. It was just me imagining things. Well, your imagination is not nothing. It's something, and it's picking it up. So I think I'm seeing people really opening up. And who's really opening up are men.
Interesting.
That I've been very gratified for, because it was and it still is very heavily female populated belief, because we're intuitive.
Yes.
We understand that. But seriously, there are men who are stepping up now that I've been really proud of. And you know, like I'll do, a lot of times I would do a couples appointment, and he'd go off somewhere or watch TV or stand there with his arms, you know. Now, sometimes it's the husband who calls me and
Wow.
says, I want you to come because we are building a house or we're having trouble. So I love that. That says to me, we're really making progress.
Yes. I was speaking with a friend of mine yesterday saying that I was going to interview you. And he mentioned that people who, because we live in Las Vegas, so there are so many hotels. And he said they should hire Feng Shui consultants before they build the place
Yes.
to know how to place things for the client, the customers to have the best experience possible.
Yeah.
And I've heard that in business, some businessmen and even some people in real estate were hiring Feng Shui consultants to set the house for sale or encourage business in the place. Did you ever encounter clients who were calling you for business?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have a casino here that called me, and they were having trouble in one area. But by trouble, I mean, when there were disagreement, it was actually a lounge area, and they were just having trouble with people. You know, they could get drinks there or food, and there was arguments, and you know, people were uptight and tense, and so they called me in. This has been many years, and the people involved are no longer there, but I had to go in kind of undercover. They didn't want anybody to know.
Oh, yeah.
Brought me in. Yeah. So now, I mean, again, like I say, we've crossed a lot of those hurdles. But yes, a lot of real estate people. And in fact, I have trained a lot of real estate people who will help people select a house that's just more appropriate for them.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to move into a house where a couple just got divorced if they're just moving in and they just got married. You know, it's like, you know, you kind of want to finesse their choices. You know, you can't make them do something, but oftentimes a realtor can sort of guide and direct them to a better option for themselves.
Now, is there a way to, let's say somebody just moved out of a house, a couple that just divorced? I know I do Reiki and I clear my house on a regular basis. Yes. So there is a way to clear the energy with Feng Shui too, right?
Yes, but Muriel, you have to know that majority of people don't know that.
Okay.
You know, they just move in and they go, oh yeah, those people got divorced, you know. Well, you know, how's that going to play out? Yeah. Sometimes if their chi is high enough, they can override it themselves.
Okay.
But usually this is where a realtor can come into play in such a big way, because oftentimes they know what the story is. Why are those people selling their house? And so, I mean, I did a place one time where the dog wouldn't go in. And as it turns out, the neighbors said that the previous owners used to beat their dog because they would hear, and the dog felt it and wouldn't go in the house. It was really a sad story. But clearing it is always a good option. And there's, I mean, you can do it yourself, a candle, incense. Sage. Yes.
So there is a thing, because I tell my clients to feel the energy of objects, like, for example, old boyfriends. And in my house, I don't know if it's Feng Shui, but I had two libraries, two bookshelves where I love books. So I tend to be excited and buy one, and then I don't have the time to read. So I had a bunch of books that I couldn't read because I didn't have time, being a single mom and all that. And every time I passed next to those books, I was reminded that I didn't have time and it didn't feel good. I ended up giving them away, knowing that whenever it will be time to read them, I'll buy them, I'll read the book, and then I'll buy another one. Is that Feng Shui too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because everything has energy. I mean, Feng Shui isn't the only modality that says that. You know, Reiki says that, and Feng Shui, well, Qigong and acupuncture, they all say everything has energy. Okay. And so this is the, you know, the issue is if you get blind to stuff, you may go, oh, it doesn't matter, but it does, because there's some connection, and you and your books is a perfect story of that, because it'll wear you down.
Yes, it did.
And then it's constantly saying, reminding you, you don't have any time.
Yes.
And so if you get them out of there, at least you don't have the message constantly blasting at you. Yeah, objects are really good. You know, Marie Kondo has come on the scene saying, hold your clothes, you know, hold your things and see if there's joy. Well,
Yeah.
hold your stuff and see if there's joy. Your you know, your little tchotchke things. You know, sometimes you hold things and you go, I don't know why I have this, I hate it. Or I love this. You know, that's a great barometer. It isn't about, here are your rules, you can only have this. Your rule is, do you love it? Is it supporting you? So yeah, and you know, I think we're busy. You know, you talk about not having time. Everybody's busy, and we just set things down, and we don't really pay attention to what the impact might be.
So for people who are not familiar with Feng Shui, first of all, I heard you say the word Qi.
Yeah.
Qi is energy, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
That's right.
And the good kind, the life force energy.
Yes.
Okay. Where do you start with Feng Shui? What's the principle to know the more general approach to it? For example, a mom who doesn't have time to go really study it in depth, where do you start?
Yeah. Well, I always tell people that if you just really don't know where to start in the bedroom.
Okay.
Yeah. And the reason for that is it's a real personal, private space. You know, it's where you dream, so you could get messages that way. It's where you heal when you aren't feeling well. It's where you're intimate. I mean, it's a potent place. And that should be the room where you walk in and go, oh, I love this room. That should be the room. If the rest of your house is in chaos, that should be the one place. And you know, I say that. Well, let me just tell you what makes that up, and then I'll backtrack on that, because I just had a client who asked me about that, kind of challenged me on that. But in the bedroom, you don't want books. You don't want your library, because they're what we call noise. There's, you know, look, all your books are saying you don't have any time. You don't need to hear that when you're trying to go to sleep. Books can hold, they are stories, they're people's ideas, their research. That is noise that's appropriate elsewhere, but you just don't want, maybe you're reading a nice self-help book, that fine, I get that, or a spiritual book that would take you inside, I get that. But when it gets to be too many, they get to be noisy. You want only things in there that you absolutely love. That's where you draw the line in the sand. I'm only having things in here I totally love. And I would say that if you've got, if you have a bed you don't love, you still kind of need the bed, but maybe you get pillows that you go, oh my God, I love those. They're so fun, and feel like it's a place for tactile kind of feelings, sensual kind of, skin-like feelings. The color is important. It should be a color you absolutely love. Just don't make it too, vibrant. It's not a place for perky yellow, because you want to, yes, it'll keep you awake. You want to kind of shut it down. It's a haven. We used to sleep in caves, and we'd crawl to the back of the cave where it was the darkest and was would hold us the most. You want to create that kind of a cave. Sometimes
almost
when
like
it's a real
womb.
Oh yeah, good. A better word. Yes, a womb. Sometimes if the ceilings are high, I'll suggest like a 4-poster bed to create like a little area within it that you can just, cozy up and feel really safe. So no workout equipment. This is what we suggest. People don't always do it. No TVs.
Yeah.
We just don't like TVs in there. We don't like computers. It's kind of like your little small cathedral where you wouldn't take your television and you wouldn't take your computer. You just go in to reflect and sleep and heal and kind of regroup. And now I will tell you a story about a single mom that had a 1-bedroom apartment, and she had 2 children. And she gave there were 2 little girls, and she gave them the bedroom, and she slept on the sofa.
Yeah.
And she did that for kind of safety reasons, because, you know, if somebody broke in,
Yeah.
they wouldn't be vulnerable. And I totally got it. And so we talked a lot about, you know, this was what she could afford, was this 1-bedroom place. And so we talked a lot about what could she create at night so that she felt somewhat safe. And what she did is she got a real inexpensive little screen that she would set up, because the couch folded out so she could create like a little bedroom for herself. So she had a little screen that she set up between her and the door, the entry door, and just made it feel bedroomy for
Yes.
the time. And then in the day, she had to have to fold it all out and put it back, which she would do anyway. And so it was so important that she create that, because, I mean, I got her circumstance. Obviously, she didn't want her little ones out there. So there is a way. There's always a way. We always find a way to create the space that really builds us up and not takes us down.
And if you have, if you can change the position of your bed, what, or the way you set your bed, what are, I know the bed is very important.
Yeah, it is.
What are the guidelines there?
If possible, the ideal place is in the corner furthest from the entry into the bedroom. And it's called a power spot. So if you enter way over here on the right, the bed should be back in the left corner. If you enter way over on the left, it should be back on the right corner. Sometimes that just doesn't work. There's doors, there's a closet there. I mean, you're not going to put your bed in front of the closet. So the reason for that, there's kind of a historical reason about, you know, in the days when the emperor didn't have, you know, cell phones or doorbells, the invaders would come in, and if he was sleeping the furthest from the entry, he had at least a few seconds to grab his sword. It's sort of a macabre kind of analogy, but there's a lesson here about being prepared.
Yes.
When you're further away from the door, if you hear something, you've got a few moments. If you're right in front of the door, you don't have a chance. I mean, and it isn't about people coming in. It's a metaphor about life. That's what it really is about. Are you prepared? Are you sitting back there giving yourself the message about being prepared? Or are you right here being caught unaware? And that's the metaphor. That's the translation to our lives now. So I try to get the bed away from the, you know, getting in the traffic path of the door. Just get it off to the side if at all possible. If not, a screen. When somebody walks into the bedroom, there's a screen and you're sleeping around behind it. That can work. I've seen some cool creative ideas with fabric being hung on a rod or on some sort of something, and just kind of draping on, you know, I think it's a bedroom. You could do that kind of thing. Yes. You may not want to do that in your living room, but in your bedroom, you could do that just for that protection piece that says,
be safe.
I'm safe. Yeah.
And I've heard about having something behind the bed to support you. Is that
that headboard? Yes, headboard. Yep, that is a metaphor about not only you feeling like you are supported, but also if a partner were to come in, that you would support each other, and you being supported means you will help support your children. So a headboard, we like them solid, not these whimsical little, you know, things. Those whimsical little unsupported ones are fine for guest rooms, because, you know, it's a guest, they come and they go. But for yourself, you really want one that's solid, sturdy, that you can lean against. You know, all the metaphors, when you're supported, you've got something to lean on. That's the message that you want. And in lieu of that, I have had people hang like tapestry that goes, you know, it hangs and then goes all the way down behind the bed, so that there's like this sense of a headboard. If the bed has to be under a window, I'll suggest they get some nice, really sturdy, strong curtains that they close, and the curtains come down behind the bed, we really don't like the bed under a window at all. It's actually a health issue. But
Wow.
if that's where it has to be, just create that window, and the window treatment to be like your headboard. It's a makeshift solution, but it can create that sense of I've got support behind me. Somebody's got my back. And that's
Wow.
what you want to create.
I have a window above my bed, a window that's rectangular, and it has blinds. So I guess blinds are enough, or do I need to add a curtain?
Well, is the window, when the way you said it, is it way up high?
It's yes.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that one.
Okay.
Because I'm worried, the windows are the kind like I have behind me.
Yes.
That
Okay.
it comes down low. That's the one that can create a problem.
But that's funny because I used to have a bed that I loved, which was a Venetian, iron bed with curving and really beautiful. But then I couldn't lean on it, and it disturbed me because there was emptiness between the headboard and the wall.
Yeah.
And it disturbed me. So when I moved into this house, I removed the bed, and somehow my body wanted to be next to the ground. And I have a Tempur-Pedic, so it's very heavy. The basis is very pretty. I put it directly on the ground. I don't know why. I just felt that that's what I needed. And I felt that I didn't want a headboard. But I have the wall behind me, and I have a heart just above my bed to affirm that this is a place of love, all kind of love.
Yeah.
So do I need to add a headboard if I still feel supported?
Well, I get to ask you a question back. That is, how are you sleeping?
Very well.
Don't mess with it.
Okay.
That's the idea, is that ultimately you want to sleep well. It doesn't require sleeping pills. It doesn't require a glass of wine. It doesn't require any outside measures to sleep. If you sleep well, and I've seen the dangest things in bedrooms, and it's always my question before I start having them rearranging, how are you sleeping? And if I hear fabulous, I might say something like, look, if sometime you aren't, here are some things you should do. But don't mess with that, because people are not sleeping well. And if you are, that is fabulous.
Yeah, and I really listen to my body for that. That style, like the Japanese style where the bed is on that's what I wanted. So I just did that.
You did it. Yeah. I've had parents do that with their kids. They it's like camping, and the kids loved it and slept better. And they shared a room. And although I did kind of push the idea they should be in, their own separate beds, they wanted to sleep on the ground. And so she set it up as though it was a little Japanese setting, and they slept. So, you do have to listen to your own interior voice.
Yeah.
On this. I mean, it's energy, and it affects people in different ways.
Another thing you've told me that was important was the keeping broken things or something like that, about broken items in your house. What's behind it?
Well, think of the metaphor. Something's broken. Like, are you broken? I mean, that's kind of the message. And that goes to like doorknobs and, drawers that don't open very well. And, I mean, obviously if it's a treasured antique piece that your great grandmother gave you and it's chipped, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about I'm just talking about everyday things that annoy you, because if something's broken, a lamp is broken, and it doesn't work well, or you're afraid you're going to get electrocuted every time you turn it on, that's not supporting your development and your sense of peace and wholeness. So and sometimes it does require a hard decision, like, oh my gosh, this thing is broken, but I really loved it when it was, sometimes when practice throwing it away, like take it out of the area, put it somewhere else, see if you care. Sometimes it's gone for 5 minutes and you go like, you know what, it's fine. Or if you were to move, would you move this broken item? I mean, would you just say, no, I dumped the thing? Then you don't want the dump the thing in your place. You want the thing that you would move, that you would keep with you.
Yes.
So I think we underestimate, like, yeah, that shelf is kind of wonky, but you know, I'm going to move in about 6 months, so I'm not even going to fix it. Well, okay, but meanwhile, you're living with wonky.
Yes.
You know, you're living with something that's not quite right. And, you know, I'm going to tell you, it's playing out in some way. It truly is.
It's an affirmation of, I don't deserve better.
Yes,
You want
yes,
things to honor who you are.
that's right. Yes,
Yes.
yes, you hit on it. That is such a great, that is exactly the underlying message. I don't care. It's, you know, it's only me.
Yes.
This is what I see in bedrooms all the time. Oh, you know, it's just me that comes in here. Well, I can see why. I mean, you know, you haven't done hardly anything to make this spectacular.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that self-worth thing is so important. And I think that, I guess some men, but I think a lot of women take on that. You know what? I'll make do. I'll
Because
make,
we're used to take care of everybody else before
yeah,
ourselves.
yeah.
And then we never get to take care of
No,
that because it's just us. And like you said,
yeah, yeah, I'll make
uh,
do.
now each area of the house corresponds to an area of your life.
Yes.
For single mom, a single mom, I know that abundance is important because
Yeah.
they have to feed their kids, especially the ones who do everything by themselves. Like me, I'm on all level. I support my kids. And love.
Yeah.
Where would that fall into the house, and what would be the two most important things to do to invite that in our life?
Okay. Yeah. So if you want to know where these areas are, because it's a whole study. I mean, there's 9 areas, and you know, it's kind of beyond the capacity of what we're doing here. But
Yes.
the one area that you would want to look at is the second most important area, and that is the back left corner of anything, the back left corner of the apartment, or the back left corner of your whole house, or the back left corner of your bedroom. It's a great place to start. When you're standing in the doorway of your bedroom, what's in the back left corner? It might be the power corner, or you might come in way over on the left and it's right in front of you. What's that back left corner? And that is the wealth corner. And that's an area where, you know, you had this magical experience of meditating under your
Abundance collage. Yes.
yes. And so people can do that. They could, you know, make something that represents that wealth, or they could clean it out. Maybe it's a sort of a funny little corner where stuff gets put. This is not a place to put your wastebasket, because you throw out waste there. It's not a place to really put your hamper. I don't know if people have hampers anymore, probably not, but your dirty clothes, you don't want that there. It could be a place where you might put a plant. If the lighting is right, it would represent the growth of money. It could be a place where you could, there's some very cool, now what I call bedroom chimes out there. You know, a lot of chimes are made for outside because they're really gongy, but there's some sweet little ones that you may want to hang there. You might want to tap it. You don't have to. The idea is that if it rings, you should love it. If it doesn't ring, you just can see it there. And that's all you need to do. So if it's just a little nondescript corner, you may say, I'm going to just make sure it's all clean, and maybe I will put a little sculptural piece there. I don't know, a light in that corner. You know, like, make it feel rich to you. You don't want to put your broken lamp in the wealth corner.
Yes.
That is not a good place. It's also a good place for a mirror. Although if you're working in your bedroom, I kind of, I hesitate about mirrors because they move things around. They're a little frenetic. But a small little mirror could be kind of sweet. You know, something that when you walk in there, you want to have kind of an emotion that says, oh, that's a good one to have for wealth. Welcoming it in, you're compassionate. It's a great thing. On the other side of the room, which is in the back right corner, that is the relationship area. Now, it also has another level of meaning to it. So it sort of has two reasons why it should be noticed. The other level is it represents the mother of the family.
Oh.
And so that too, you know, is there anything broken there? Do you need to just clean it out? Can you hang something there? Can you put a little chime there? It's not a good place for plants. I wouldn't put that there. But it could be a good place for something like pottery, some kind of sculptural piece that's made out of clay. Or just again, just maybe you hang something there that says to you, I am strong, I am comforted, I'm clear, and I'm ready for a relationship. Or not, you know, some
Yeah.
women don't want to do that while they're
Yes.
raising their children, and that's fine too. But something that just gives you the message of, I've got this. And whatever, you know, whatever that might be for you. It might be that you just take a coat of paint and in that little corner, I don't know how you would do that. So I'm sort of talking wildly here, but you know, maybe you have a color in there. You go, that is my color. I love it.
Okay.
I love it. Maybe all your walls are that color for that matter. But those two corners will anchor a room or a space. And so, you know, when if you're looking at your whole space, you might have your garage in your money area, or you might have your garage in your personal mother partnership area. So, you know, those are challenges, and it's not like you can't, you know, you've got to move, but it does mean it has to be a good garage, or it's a storage room there, and it just make it a great storage room. It might have something where you walk in and you go, oh, this is so cool, I love this storage room. It's in order, or maybe it has this wonky fun little mobile thing in there and you just love it, or a poster. You know, like there's an experience, there's an emotional experience.
Okay.
And this is when Feng Shui works the best, which is what you had with your, you know, meditating there in your wealth corner. And so I think that becomes personal, because I might go, that's gorgeous. And you would say, yeah, well, I would never bring that into my space. So you want to just make sure that those two corners, and maybe working just in the bedroom would be easier at this point, because it does get complicated when you add stuff onto the house, and sometimes it isn't square and you don't know what to do. But the bedrooms are usually square or rectangular, and they're a little easier. You can find the back right corner, you can find the back left corner, and go, all right, so what am I going to do here? What can I do to make this really support what I want? It's going to be important to get clear, because stuff will happen.
And what about the meaning that you put behind what is there? Because my relationship corner, as you were talking, it's in my kitchen. And the corner is where I have my juicer, my mixer, my essential oil. So for me, it's nourishing me. It's taking care of me. It's supporting me. So that would be enough as a meaning to say that that corner is how much supporting me.
Yeah, you know, and the thing is that whenever you go, I'll use yours as an example. So whenever you go to that corner, it isn't all that important. You have to like remember that. If originally you you know, there's at some point you made an aha that, oh my gosh, that's my relationship corner, and it's about nourishing and making me feel vibrant and healthy, and doesn't that work well? That's a great realization. You don't have to have that experience every time you go there, because there'll be days when you just juice and you walk away.
Yes.
But the thing is that you've implanted, because this is energy here, you've put that in place. And from time to time you may go, like now you just said, hey, that's my relationship area. You've reinforced it again.
Yes.
So it isn't something every day you've got to go there and stand there and say, oh, this is my, in fact, that's like, that's overdoing it.
Yes.
You know, you just live your life, but know when it's important, you go, that is, and so when, this is how I use it. So when I am like, something gets out of control, this happens in my office all the time, you know, stuff just happens. And I'll go, wait, that's my wealth corner. I'm not letting that happen there. That's not going to happen. And so I'm always kind of, from time to time, not always, there's a sort of a regular thing, like maybe monthly, I'll go, what's happening there? What's happening over here? And then I look at my helpful people, which is about clients. What's happening there? And you know, like I hang a sweater on my doorknob. Well, that's my helpful people area. Not, you know, come on, go hang the sweater up where it belongs. It doesn't belong there. So I take inventory on a regular basis just to kind of keep it up. You know, it's sort of like you brush your teeth every day. Well,
Yeah.
I kind of look at my Feng Shui in critical areas on a regular basis.
And you reaffirm the intention that
Yeah.
is there.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Those two corners are very important.
Yes, they are.
Is there, and that's a question that I ask all my guests about self-love. How does that play in Feng Shui, or how do you define self-love and use it with Feng Shui? What's your approach?
Right. Yeah, I think it comes into play. Let me see. That's an interesting question. Let me see how. I know I've had this question come up with clients, and I think that you hit on it early on about worthiness.
Uh-huh.
You know, they're kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
And so, here's one way that I would see self-love being really important. I think that, and I'm just thinking of one client who had, she was kind of struggling. She wasn't a single mom, but she'd lost a job and whatever. I don't need to know her story, but her situation was that she was living in a little apartment and really couldn't afford much. I mean, she barely made her bill, got her bills paid. And so people started giving her stuff, and she took it all. She just was grateful. She had a sort of a rickety little dining room set, and she had a blender that worked part-time, and it was just kind of junk. And she was so grateful, and what was happening is her little place was starting to get a little crowded.
Yes.
Because people just thought, oh, hey, I got this rocker and you'll love it. It'll fit right there. Well, here was where we had this discussion about, did she love any of these things?
Yes.
And truthfully, no. So, but she allowed, and it was playing out in her life with the guys she was dating, and the sort of the situation she would get into with helping somebody that she didn't even really care that much about. And anyway, she was surrounded by things that she had allowed to come into her space that she didn't want, really didn't need, and would never have bought it. If she would have had all the money, never would she have bought that anyway.
Yes.
And so there's constant reminders that she's not worthy. She's not worthy of just even a nice piece. So we had this discussion, and it was a hard one for her to hear, although she knew it. And so, but she, said basically, I'd have to clear out my apartment because all this is hand-me-downs.
Yes.
And I had no argument with that. I thought, well, why not? Why not start with just what you love and say, I love myself enough to not take everybody else's junk. And, a lot of them said, I'm going to go to Goodwill if you don't want it. Well, I don't want it. I'm not your Goodwill.
Yes. And I was in that situation when I first divorced a long time ago. And although some people gave me stuff that were not necessarily broken, but it wasn't to my own taste.
Yeah.
And I know that somebody else could love it because it was their taste.
Yes.
So I just gave it away with the intention of, here, I hope somebody will really enjoy it. Meanwhile, I'm inviting something new in my life. And I actually do that every time I throw something away or I give something away. I affirm I am making space for new and for things that I love.
Yes.
And it really works well. Mm-hmm. Because it is self-love, because you deserve to live in a space that you love.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's that's exactly what you should do. Kind of an exaggerated example, but it may help some people, is think about you have a pet. So, like people, what if somebody came over and said, "Oh, here's my dog. I don't need it anymore." And you're not really into it.
Yeah.
Like maybe you like pets, but not that pet. You'd find it a new home.
Yes.
You might say thank you, but then you'd find it a new home. Or somebody gives you a pet that's sick.
Yeah.
Like, here, I don't need this. Well, that's hardly a gift. And so, sometimes that helps people to kind of reframe what happens here. Because if you wanted a dog, you would go and find the right
Your
dog
dog. Yes.
and bring it home and love it. So, I mean, we can't do that with, every little mug and every little pen we have, but big items, that needs to really come from within. And the chances that somebody would bring you the dog that you love, I mean, it could happen.
Yes.
Somebody could bring you a piece of furniture, you go, "Oh my God, I wanted something like that." That could happen. That's a great thing. Majority of the time, that's not what happens.
And that may tend to happen more if you let go of what you don't want and you invite what you love in your life. It doesn't matter how it comes.
That's right. Energy. It's again back to
Yes.
energy. Everything is energy. Yeah.
If people want to find more information about you or connect with you to ask you questions and see what services or teaching they can learn, where do they find you?
Well, my website is carolehyder.com. I have, as you mentioned earlier, and as I've mentioned, my focus is healthcare. So when you go there, you'll see it's mainly healthcare. In fact, it's pretty much all healthcare. I do have a blog section on there. And if you go there, there's medical blogs and there's general blogs. Ton of information. I've been blogging for years. So you could go on there and just scroll through and find what you want. I also do a kind of a Feng Shui on the run sort of program where I will Skype with somebody. And if they send me their blueprint, I will Skype with them for about 30 minutes. And we'll just target some key areas. It's $100. And, it's usually, if they want a follow-up appointment, that's fine. But generally people don't. They get what they need.
Yes.
I can't do clearly a whole full-blown thing if it's long distance. It's hard.
Yes.
It's hard to do that. But it can give people kind of a leg up, especially if there's like one room.
Yes.
That's a real problem.
Or one area in their life that's really a problem. So.
Yes. Yes, that. Right. So I can be reached at Carole@CaroleHyder.com. Pretty simple. I have an E on the end of Carole. That's where people
And I'll put it in the description.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I'm happy to, set up a time, or, if you just got one little question, I'll be happy to answer that.
And for people, let's say somebody's taking care, because you mentioned healthcare, someone is taking care of a parent and they have questions about their house, or that's what you call healthcare, right? It's
actually, I'm breaking into clinics, anybody who's like a dentist, a chiropractor, as well as hospitals. And it's getting some traction here. It's not an easy audience, but it's starting to be. So that when I say healthcare, but obviously, I mean, I've been in this so long, I have probably seen it all. And if you've got certainly an issue with a parent or something, throw it my way and we'll see what we can do.
Because hospitals, it's so needed.
I know.
It's really, the energy there is very low vibration.
Yes, it is. Yes, I agree. Yeah, I agree. And I will say there might be a breakthrough here with Mayo. Mayo has been really interested in what I've been doing, and we'll see where it goes. It's hard for them to justify spending money on energy.
Yes.
It's just hard. And there's some data, but they want, mega data. And a lot of the research has not been done. A lot of it's anecdotal. So,
I've seen data about having either the view on nature or picture of nature in the hospital.
Yes. There is a science study on that one. Yeah, I quote that one a lot. Yeah. So.
I want to thank you, Carole, for giving us your time. And if you have one thing that you want to leave the audience with, is the moment now to tell them I don't know if there is one thing that you always tell people.
I always tell people, if this won't apply if you live in an apartment or a condo, but if you live in a home, use your front door on a regular basis.
Oh, and that's what I'm not doing enough. I need to do that more.
Yeah. It's a metaphor again about opening up to possibilities. Your front door is where we call it the mouth of Qi, or the mouth of energy. It's where opportunities and good luck shows up. And if you're not using your front door, here in Minnesota, we all have attached garages, or the garages in the back of the house, but it's still an important thing to do for anything.
So put your car in the garage, get out of the car from the garage, and enter this house from the front door.
Once in a while, try to do it. I mean, it's not like every time.
Wow. And you know what? I just had an epiphany, because my doorknob is not opening easily. So that must be so bad.
There you go.
That.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's called common sense feng shui, is when you just fix the darn thing that's broken.
Yes. Thank you again.
That
was really, really rich in information, and I loved it, and I know people will love it.
Well, you're doing good work, Muriel. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
For our audience, you can reach Carole, and I will put her website below this interview, and I'll see you next time with either myself or another guest. Have a wonderful week, and go take care of your space.